This is a Love Bunny video. I'm doing it live right now. Right now it is 12:22 p.m. Thursday, May 2nd, 2019. Now what I plan to do is have a live video every morning, 6 a.m. my time. And hopefully it's going to coincide with most of my friends in the States because I'm on Philippines time, which is also China time. So maybe it will be for Chicago, for example, there's a 12-hour difference, so that would be 6 p.m. New York time, 7 p.m. LA time would be 4 p.m. Vegas time would be about 5 p.m. So I'm going to try to have more videos around that time. But I just was thinking, I meditate every day that I can, which is probably 90% of the time. And I was meditating just now, ideas come in your mind and then you let them go, and then they come in your mind and let them go. Sometimes these ideas come in to the point to where they really distract me a lot. And so I made a new rule about my meditation a few months back. I thought, okay, if there's something that's really nagging me, and I'm really afraid I'm going to forget that idea. I just stop my meditation, I open my eyes, and I've got a piece of paper and a pen right here. I jot down the idea, and then I get back to the meditation. Meditation, I always do about 15 minutes. Sometimes shorter, not very often will I do it longer unless I'm on some kind of a meditation retreat. But anyway, getting to the point because I want to make this a short video. I was meditating and I got the idea about perspective and about perspective in life. And one of the things that I've done, really, I guess I did it on purpose, was try to visit more than one country. So now I've been to 50 countries and try to see more than one religion. Not really because I set out to do it that way, but I was born and raised Catholic. I was baptized Catholic, and I used to go to church sometimes every day at certain points in my life. And when I found that I was introduced to Jehovah's Witnesses by an older brother of mine, and he said, hey, you ought to examine this and that, and these guys are not really going by the Bible, and this is the truth, this isn't. Talked to my father about it, who's a very strong Catholic, a very religious guy. He didn't like it, so it created this tension at home. But what it did was it opened up my mind. I ended up being a Jehovah's Witness for 5 years. But what did that do? That gave me perspective. So once I got away from Catholicism and I got a chance to be a Jehovah's Witness, or at least to study with those guys, see what they think, it gave me perspective. So think about it this way. If you're on the ground all the time, and then you have a chance to get in an airplane and see your city, you can see your city street, you can see your home, you can see the supermarket, you can see all these things, the hills or the water, the lake, the rivers, whatever, from an airplane. It's called perspective. Why? Because when you go up, it gives you a chance to see things from a different angle. Well, this is the chance that I got when it came to religion. I don't want to harp on religion because I talked about it on my last video, so I'm not always going to talk about religion. This is really about love. But my understanding of love came from this. So it's a little bit, I think, important in the love philosophy that I share. And that is this idea, once again, of perspective, getting away. Now, the people that I know, sometimes there are debates about religion. The people that I know, that I meet, that I'm familiar with, that are really adamant about their particular religion. People that just are so strong in that religion, and it's next to impossible for them to conceive of, wait a second, is that true or not? Is the God that I'm worshiping really there, or is there something else going on? Now, it took me to be away from religion for a while before I was able to ask that question, because you need the safety to ask that question, because most of the Christian religions, or a lot of the religions in the world, if you doubt that, if you doubt some of the foundational beliefs, some of the things that they say, you've got to have faith in that, even if there's not any real practical proof, they manufacture proof, you accept things, you say, oh, that's a bug, so because that bug can fly, God did that, so therefore I believe in God. These kind of very weak comparisons are made to give people this foundation of faith. And if you doubt that foundation of faith, if you start to say, wait a second, I wonder if that's true or not, a lot of times you're looking at eternal death in hell fire. So that's kind of a scary thing to do. Most people don't have the insanity or the courage or whatever it takes to actually ask that question and say, wait a second, is that really true or not? So here's what I want to say. I want to say that I did that. when I quit Catholicism because it wasn't really impressed on me that there was this kind of a downside. And I trusted my big brother. I trusted him. So I thought, well, if he can do it, then maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that dangerous. Maybe it's not that wrong. In fact, he's a smart guy and he's a really compassionate guy. And so maybe he's right. So I did Jehovah's Witness. I was Jehovah's Witness. I really butt into that. They had a lot of books, and I liked reading the books and studying and understanding why. What are the mechanics of how this whole thing works? And as a kid, from the age of 15 to about 19 or 20, I was into that. And then I realized through a chain of events that there was something really, really wrong about how that group was functioning. And at the time, I didn't know how to say it. You know, like when we're children, like you can ask a 2-year-old, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Or ask a 1-year-old, they can't say it. I mean, even if they're starting to use words, a lot of times they don't know how to say those words. When we're a teenager, or you know, we're 10 or 12, we're having trouble with our friends or identity or our schoolwork or something like that. It's very rare that we're able to really put the problems that we're having into words. I had that same problem with religions that I was involved in. I couldn't really put it into words. I just knew there was something wrong. And looking back now, I'm 58 years old. So looking back on those decisions that I made to, wait a minute, get a perspective, get out of this, take a look. Even if God's going to kill me forever, I don't want to live this way. That's a decision I made when I was 25 after I did a half a dozen different religions in a really pretty serious basis. It gave me the chance to, after I saw this direction, I saw that direction, I saw that direction, I got a chance to get a little perspective. So the people that are so adamant and strong in their religions, I haven't met one yet that has any perspective to speak of. What happens? They're born in a religion, and so they believe coincidentally the religion that I happen to be born into is the only right religion, that's the only true God, that's the only truth. And now I've got it because I was born in it by some grace of God or something like that. I don't know. Number two, people who were maybe born Baptist or they're born Catholic or they're born in some religion, they go to the church, or maybe they never go to the church. They say, oh, I was raised Catholic, or I was raised Baptist, or I was raised this or that. But then a friend introduced me. That doesn't count. You know why? Because most of the time, 99% of the time, these people were never a real Catholic. They've never really been. They never really studied, and they never really got into, they never really believed, and they never really get caught in the snare of that particular religion. The constellation of understandings that they give you, that the religion is built upon, that is kind of built like a trap. They never got into that. So they were never really in that religion. Then they say, oh, well, I was introduced to this, and now I really believe this. No, because that's really your first religion. It's the first thing that you really looked into, the first thing that you really studied. Is that perspective? No, it isn't. Perspective is when you give your heart and your soul to something. You really, really get involved in it deeply. You research it, you study it, you go through all the motions, you go through all of the ceremonies, you know, and all of the traditions, you get to know that stuff. And you really build your life around that. Then, okay. Then you can say, yes, I know that religion. And if you quit that, or if you get back away from that and you decide, I'm going to pretend what it's like that all of that is not running my life right now, that my life is not centered upon that particular philosophy, but now my life is centered on perhaps another philosophy or no philosophy. That's when you're starting to get a little perspective. Because people that find some religion and they leave something that they never really got into in the first place, there's no perspective. That's the first religion they have. So you've got to really make a decision. You got to say, wait a second. And one of the big proofs for me was, if I'm so right, I know I'm not that clever. I don't have met anybody who's that clever. I don't have met anybody who's that stupid. I find people that focus in certain areas. I find people that are natural at this. They're natural arguers. Or they're people that close their mind off, and they have absolutely, they just have a very, very tiny ability to say, wait a second, am I right? Let me look at the other perspective. Let me doubt myself, and doubt myself in a serious way, so that I can really be sure that what I'm doing, I've been surrounded all my life, in my own family even, with people who never thought twice and never said, wait a second, is this really possible if there are billions of people on the planet who don't do what I'm doing and they seem to be okay? Maybe there's something, maybe there's another way, maybe there's another possible way. And so this gives you perspective if you have the ability to see that, question yourself, question what you're doing, and then just take a look. And then you can always go back. You can always go, you can do anything you want at any time. That's the way life is. You have the freedom to make any decision that you want, but a lot of times we never take that freedom because we only know one thing. All I know is driving on the right side of the road. Then you go to a country where they drive on the left side of the road, and it's like a whole paradigm thing. But because everybody in that country is driving on the left side, you accept it because now you've gotten some perspective. Now you know there's two different possible sides of the roads that I can drive on, and both are okay. Both of them can work. Then what do? We get even more perspective. We get an airplane and say, wow, that's another way to get from one place to another. If I'm just used to driving only, what a difference, you know? So perspective, just this concept of perspective, I was realizing that it really gives you a chance. And you have the opportunity to, you know, if you've been involved in different religions like I have, or like so many people have, they have a chance to really understand when somebody says something from their religion, some catchphrase that they've been conditioned or that their culture has made it so natural for them to always say that. Like, for example, in America, mostly Christians, and I grew up Christian, one of the Christian religions, right, Catholic, we'd say, oh my God, God. Or, you know, we would even curse, even though I guess that's punishable by death by God. We did it all the time. My dad did it all the time when you get really angry. But when I was in Malaysia, it's always God is great. God is great. God is great. Well, you never said that once. You never hear that. So we get conditioned to say these things. And even though I haven't been involved in a religion for 30 years, sometimes I will say that because it's kind of in my DNA. It's in my bones. It's in my blood, that habit. Now, if I was born and raised in a Muslim country, I'd probably say Allah Akbar, or I'd say God is great, or I'd say something, you know, more appropriate to the way I was raised, even if I was no longer a Muslim. You know, even if I had decided, well, I don't think that's for me, I don't find that the best thing for my life, but still, we have all these habits. We bring our own culture, we bring our own habits to the table, we bring our own beliefs, our own ideas, and man, all of us, to a certain extent, we're really, you know, we really don't have perspective. We really aren't able that much to see how other people feel, how other people are thinking, how they grew up, why they're behaving the way they're behaving. We have so little empathy, compassion for each other so much of the time. And while when people do have that, when people are ready to just kind of let go and let go of where they're digging their heels in and listen to the other side of an argument, it's just a beautiful thing to see because it's so giving and it's just such a loving thing to do. And that's a tough thing to do a lot of times because we know we're right. We have to be right. Genetically, we have to be. In order for our lives to continue as human beings, we have to believe that we're right. It's built into our DNA, into our logic in our minds. I have to be right about what I'm doing. Otherwise, it's suicide, right? It has to be right to walk on this side of the river or stay away from a crocodile or whatever. Because if I try to pet the crocodile, then maybe he's going to eat me. So a lot of times we have this built into our mind at a very basic level. I've got to be right. And that could be about chocolate. It could be something about so silly about, you know, how we behave in so many ways. We've got to be right. And that's the way that life goes with our interactions with others. So this guy's a different religion from me. I've got to be right because otherwise God's going to kill me, or who knows, all kinds of bad things could come through my mind. So when I feel that I have to be right, and I have all these reasons because I've been reading the holy books, whatever the literature of the religion that I'm into says, this is why we're right. This is why this is true. This is why you got to follow us, and this is why you should never quit or leave or doubt. Don't even doubt. You got to have faith. Or you're really being bad, and man, are you ever going to pay for that? So if we really, understand, wait, this is a matter of this is part of what's built into me as a survival mechanism so that I can stick by knowing what's the right thing to do when I see the crocodile or when I'm crossing the bridge or when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, worshiping, doing the right thing. Otherwise, it might mean death. And we don't like death. We like to be healthy. We like to have healthy babies and raise them, and they can have a wedding, and we can have good food, and we can enjoy life. That's what's really basic inside of us. So many of our behaviors, so many of our thoughts, so many things that we do are based around this. I got to be right. And if we don't stick by that, there's a chance of death. So this perspective thing has this thing working against it. And that is that I'm not allowed to think. I'm not allowed to try to get perspective, because if I do, it could be a really, really, really bad thing. So anyway, supposed to be 5 minutes. I'm into 16 minutes now. I apologize. I hope you don't mind my soapbox conversation here. I just wanted to share this idea about perspective that popped into my mind. Have any ideas about it? You have any opinion? I just would love to hear what you have to say. We can debate the topic. Find something that you agree with. You can find something you disagree with, because I'm always learning, and I need perspective from you. Because all I've got is my own darn perspective. And that's a very limited, very small world between my ears. So I need you, and I need your ideas. And I hope that you're happy to share how what you believe, what you think, what you know, and how that might relate to this topic or any other topic. So anyway, this is just a live video from Love Buddy. Love Buddy is about sharing more love in the world. So I've got a website, LoveBuddy.com, Love Buddy. And that's what I do, and that's what I'm really interested in. And that's kind of what's behind this video, is to share ideas that can help us to love each other more, bring more love and compassion to the world. Because I think that's what we really need. And I think, in my opinion, from my perspective, that that's going to be a good foundation for us to deal with each other, make the world a better place, help more people get fed, clothed, healthy, happy lives. Because right now, I've got a couple billion people right now. 30% of us are living on $2 a day. And that's not a beautiful thing. And I think love brings compassion, it brings understanding, it brings cooperation, and I think it brings more perspective. I like the perspective that love gives me, and I think it's a good thing. So have a challenge for that or whatever, please let me know. Anyway, Love Buddy video. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. I love you.